All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. Always ready to break down a big match.
Well, tonight we've got one, that's for sure. Rangers taking on Fenerbahce in the Europa League, second leg.
Huge game. And with Rangers up 3-1 from that first leg, you got to think they're feeling pretty confident, right?
Yeah, I mean, 3-1, that's a decent cushion, especially when you consider Rangers at Ibrox. It's a tough place to go for any team.
Oh, absolutely. Ibrox can be an absolute fortress. But let's not forget, we're talking about a Jose Mourinho side here.
Right, he's known for pulling off some pretty incredible comebacks. So I guess anything is possible. We at Tips Moto don't ever rule anything out.
Couldn't agree more. And when you look at Fenerbahce's recent form, they've been on a tear.
Yeah, but that first leg loss snapped an 18-match unbeaten streak for them. I wonder how they'll bounce back from that.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? How will they respond? We know they haven't made it to the quarterfinals of the Europa League since the 2012-2013 season, so there's definitely a hunger there. But a 2-goal deficit on the road is a tough ask.
It is. Let's dive into some of the key factors here. First off, Rangers come into this one with a full week of rest, having skipped their Scottish Premiership match to prepare.
That's a big advantage in my book, especially in a European competition where the games come thick and fast.
And like you mentioned earlier, playing at home in front of their fans, our data actually shows Rangers have advanced in 24 of their last 25 European ties when leading by 2 or more goals after the first leg.
Yeah, I saw that stat too. Impressive stuff. But, how much of that is down to just being a good team and how much is down to their tactical approach in those games?
That's a great point. I'm curious, what have our analysts found when they looked at Rangers' style in those matches?
Well, they've noticed something pretty interesting. It seems that Rangers aren't afraid to change things up depending on the opponent and, the specific situation. Sometimes they'll press high, really go after the opposition, forcing errors and creating chances.
Okay, so they can be quite aggressive when they need to be.
Exactly. But other times, they're happy to sit back, soak up pressure, and hit teams on the counterattack using their pacey wingers.
So they can be quite adaptable then.
It seems so, and that's what makes them dangerous. I mean, with a 2-goal lead, they have the flexibility to either control the game or exploit their opponent's weaknesses.
That makes Fenerbahce's job even tougher, doesn't it? They need to score at least 2 goals to even have a chance. But they can't leave themselves wide open at the back either.
It's a tactical tightrope walk, for sure.
All right, let's talk about some of the players who could really make a difference in this one. For Rangers, you've got to look at Václav Černý. He's been on fire in the Europa League this season with 8 goal contributions already.
He's been outstanding. Our data highlights his consistency when it comes to creating chances. He's not just scoring goals, he's setting up his teammates, too.
And that could be a problem for Fenerbahce, especially considering their defense hasn't been the most solid.
Right, and they're missing Kaglar Sionkru, their first-choice center back, through injury.
Ah, that's right, he picked up that knock in the first leg. Alexander Džeko did well stepping in, even managed to score a goal. But can he handle the pressure of a full 90 minutes at Ibrox?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Replacing a player like Soyuncu is never easy. It'll be interesting to see how he copes with the atmosphere and the intensity, especially because those Rangers fans can really make their presence felt.
They can be intimidating for sure. But, Fenerbahce does have Sofian Amrabat and Fred back in midfield after serving their suspensions in the first leg.
That's right, they were both missing for that first game. Now they're back in the mix, which definitely changes things.
So tell us a bit more about what the return means for Fenerbahce. How do they change the team's dynamic?
Well, Amrabat, he brings that real physical presence in the middle of the park. He breaks up plays, wins the ball back, and gets attacks started.
A bit of a midfield enforcer then.
Exactly. And then you've got Fred, who's more of a box-to-box midfielder. He can contribute both defensively and going forward.
So with them back in the lineup, Fenerbahce suddenly has a much more robust and versatile midfield.
Definitely. And that could be crucial in this game. They need to control the tempo and create chances for their dangerous attacking trio, Dušan Tadić, Youssef En-Nesyri, and Edin Džeko.
We all know what those guys are capable of. They didn't really fire in the first leg, but with Amrabat and Fred back, maybe they'll have more support.
That's what we're thinking. It'll be fascinating to see how this tactical battle plays out in midfield.
It's shaping up to be a really intriguing game, isn't it? You got the home advantage for Rangers, the psychological edge of that first leg win, and then you've got Fenerbahce's attacking firepower and the return of those key midfielders.
It's going to be a chess match, that's for sure. And that's where we at Tips Moto come in.
Right, because we're not just watching this for fun, are we? We're trying to understand it, break it down, and help our listeners make informed betting decisions.
Exactly. And our team has been poring over the data, looking at all these different angles, trying to find those hidden edges.
So, tell me, what are some of the key insights that have emerged from our analysis so far? What's caught your eye?
Well, one thing we've noticed is the potential for a shift in momentum. Even though Rangers have that 2-goal advantage, there's a good chance they'll start a bit cautiously.
You think they might sit back and try to protect their lead, especially early on?
It wouldn't be surprising. And if they do, that could give Fenerbahce a chance to control possession and dictate the tempo.
Which is exactly what they want, right? They need to put Rangers under pressure, force them into mistakes.
Exactly. And our algorithms are actually picking up on some intriguing patterns in Rangers' defensive structure when they're under sustained pressure.
Okay, this sounds really interesting. Tell me more about what you guys have found.
Well, let's save that for after the break. We'll delve into those defensive vulnerabilities in part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, so we're back. And, before the break, we were talking about those potential vulnerabilities in Rangers' defense, right? Those patterns that our algorithms picked up.
Yeah, exactly. You see, when Rangers sit back and, absorb pressure for long periods, their defensive line, it tends to narrow a bit.
Okay, interesting. So what does that mean in practical terms, like on the pitch?
Well, they leave space out wide. Those flanks become vulnerable, especially against teams that are quick on the counterattack.
And Fenerbahce definitely has that in their locker, right? With players like Tadić and Nasiri.
Oh, absolutely. Those guys thrive in those situations, Give them space to run at defenders, and they can cause all sorts of problems.
So even though Fenerbahce are 2 goals down, could this actually be a tactical advantage for them if Rangers are too cautious?
It's definitely a possibility, and that's what makes this match so intriguing. Both managers have these really difficult decisions to make, Do they stick with what's worked for them, or do they adjust their approach?
Yeah, it's like a game of chess, isn't it? It's trying to anticipate your opponent's moves and counter them.
Absolutely, and that's why we, at Tips Moto, we go beyond just the surface-level analysis.
Yeah.
We're not just looking at who's going to win or lose. We're trying to understand the how and the why.
Right, we're digging into the data, the historical trends, individual player performances, the tactical nuances, all of it.
Exactly, because we want to give our users the best possible information, the insights they need to make smart betting decisions.
Speaking of individual players, we were talking about Václav Černý earlier. He's been a key figure for Rangers in this Europa League campaign.
He has, and one thing that's really stood out to us when we've been analyzing his performance data is his versatility.
In what sense?
Well, he's not just a goal scorer. He can create chances for his teammates as well. And we've noticed that when Rangers are trying to hold on to a lead late in games, they often shift him into a deeper, more playmaking role.
Interesting. So he can adapt his game to different situations.
Exactly, which makes him even more valuable in a high-pressure match like this one. The stakes are high and he can handle it.
And I guess that's what makes Tips Moto's analysis so unique. We're not just looking at basic stats. We're considering all these different factors, the context, the player's role, their mentality.
Precisely. It's about understanding the bigger picture, not just the numbers on a spreadsheet.
So if anyone listening is really intrigued by this Rangers-Fenerbahce match and wants to delve even deeper into the analysis, where should they go?
Well, head over to www.tipsmoto.co.ke. That's where you'll find all of our detailed match previews, the latest team news, and of course our expert betting tips.
We've got all the angles covered, everything from individual player stats to head-to-head records, even the potential impact of the referee.
We want to give you the knowledge and the tools you need to make informed decisions so you can enjoy the match and hopefully make some smart bets along the way.
Absolutely well said. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few minutes to wrap up our deep dive on this fascinating Europa League clash. All right, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been talking all things Rangers and Fenerbahce, and it's pretty clear this second leg is going to be a tight one, maybe even a bit cagey.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be a real tactical battle, no doubt about that. And, as we wrap up our analysis here at Tips Moto, there's one more element that we've been paying close attention to, and it's something that often gets overlooked.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
Set pieces.
The set pieces.
Right, yeah. They can be absolute game changers, especially in a tight match like this where one goal can make all the difference. And our data shows that Fenerbahce has been a bit vulnerable defending set pieces this season.
Really? So they've been conceding goals from corners and free kicks?
More than they'd like, yeah. And Rangers, well, they've got some real aerial threats in their team. Guys like Connor Goldson and James Tavernier can be dangerous in the air.
They certainly can. So that's something to keep an eye on then, the set-piece battle. It could be a deciding factor.
Absolutely. We think it'll be a key battleground in this match. And, at the end of the day, our goal at Tips Moto is to give you the knowledge and insights you need to make those smart decisions.
Right. We're not just here to throw out predictions. We want to empower you with the information and analysis so you can make up your own mind.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up this deep dive on Rangers versus Fenerbahce, let's recap a few key takeaways here. First off, this is a match with a lot of layers, right? You've got that tactical battle in midfield. You've got individual players like Černý and Tadić who can produce moments of magic.
Yeah, and we can't forget about those set pieces. Potentially a huge factor given Fenerbahce's struggles and Rangers' strength in that area.
For sure. And finally, even though Rangers have that advantage on paper, Fenerbahce, they have the motivation, they have the attacking firepower, and maybe even a slight tactical edge to turn this tie around.
So to sum it up, this one is too close to call.
Exactly. And that's why we encourage you to head over to www.tipsmoto.ke.key. You'll find all the latest odds, detailed match previews, and of course, our expert betting tips. We've got everything you need to make the most of this exciting Europa League clash.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive, everyone. Enjoy the match, and remember, bet responsibly.